Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a different type of video. I'm going to be getting ready while telling you guys a true crime case. I want to give full credit to Danielle Kersey. I have been binge watching her videos and that's what made me do this type of video today. So I want to give a shout out to her. If you are not into these types of videos, that is completely okay. I will see you in my next video. But if you are, I hope you guys stick around. This is my first time doing this type of video and I am nervous. So if you guys have any feedback, any suggestions after watching this video, let me know down below in the comment box. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Now let's go ahead and start with today's case. For today's case, we're going to be talking about Skylar Neese. Skylar Neese was a 16-year-old girl who resided in Star City, West Virginia. She was an only child to parents David and Mary. David and Mary had a hard time getting pregnant, so once they conceived, it was the best thing to ever happen to them. Skylar was everything to them, so once they had her, their life was complete. They loved her so much and they were all so incredibly close. Skylar was an excellent student. Everyone who knew her thought she was a bubbly girl who was super friendly and a very loyal friend. She always had a lot of friends in school and she was just a social butterfly that everybody loved. Now in second grade, Skylar met a girl named Sheila Eddy and they have both been very close since then. Skylar's parents even considered Sheila one of their daughters. They had been friends since they were 8 years old, so Skylar and her parents considered Sheila a lifetime friend. They were always together. They were inseparable since second grade. Sheila actually ended up going to a different middle school, but once it was time to go to high school, she moved back in town again and both of the girls attended the same high school, which was University High. Despite the distance, they were still both so close. It was like if Sheila never left. That is just how strong their bond was. Like nothing could tear them apart. They were best friends forever. That is the relationship that they had. Sheila was described as a wild child. She came from a broken family. Her parents were divorced. She had a lot of freedom. She was always out there and a lot of people would describe her as a bad influence. During high school, they met a girl named Rachel Shove. Now, Rachel Shove was opposite of Sheila and Skylar. She was a singer and she loved being in school plays and her parents were actually very religious. They were Catholic, so she was expected to follow a lot of standards. Although she was a complete opposite, they got along so well and they started to become inseparable. So the duo became a trio and people thought they were actually sisters more than friends. That's how close they all three were. They were constantly together and if they weren't, they were always texting or on Twitter talking to each other. So they always had some form of communication, even if they weren't physically together. After some time, Skylar started to change a little bit. She was an honor student and her grades started to drop. But more than that, she actually started to drink and smoke and started sneaking out. So she started to have this rebellious side come out. Like I said, Sheila was more of the bad influence. So she was really a rule breaker and that started to rub off on Rachel and Skylar. Skylar started to sneak out at night to meet with Rachel and Sheila. And Skylar's parents actually thought it was a completely normal behavior. Since they were teenagers, Skylar's parents thought this was completely normal for a 16-year-old girl to do. So they were very lenient when it came to that. They didn't punish her or yell at her, none of that. So when it came to that, it was like they were accepting and they were just waiting for that phase to end. They didn't really do much about it. Even though her behavior did change, she was still obedient and responsible. She was still attending school. She had a job at Wendy's that she was still going to. She never called out. She would always attend both school and work. So she was still very obedient. She was still doing her duties as a teenager. For a while, the trio seemed to be doing fine until their sophomore year. I'm sure you guys know the phrase, two's a company and three's a crowd. Unfortunately, that applies to this friendship. Both Rachel and Sheila started to leave Skylar out. They started to make plans together without her. They would dress alike together to make her jealous. So it started to become a rocky friendship. All during sophomore year, Skylar and Sheila would fight all the time. And Skylar would express herself on Twitter and tweet how she felt. She would tweet how she doesn't trust them and how she is feeling left out. On July 4th, Skylar actually made a tweet that said, "Sick of being at home. Thanks friends, love hanging out with you too." Clearly she was upset and hurt that she was always being left out. On the next night, July 5th, she came home from work at around 10 p.m. She ate dinner, kissed her parents goodnight, and went to bed like a normal night. However, the next morning, she was not found in her room. Her dad came home from work and he went to check on her. I think it was around 1 p.m. or on midday. He went to her room to check on her and she was not there. Skylar actually snuck out of her apartment through her bedroom window, and there's actually a surveillance video showing that she climbed out of her window a bit after midnight on July 6th and got into a sedan. When her dad realized that she wasn't in her room, he immediately called Mary and she told him, don't worry, it's summertime. She's probably swimming with her friends or she went shopping. Currently it's summer vacation, and you know, this is just what teenagers do. They hang out with their friends. So she probably left home early and she just didn't tell anybody. When Dave actually looked outside the window, he saw that the stool was still there that Skylar used to sneak out, and the window was still wide open. So that's why he thought something was not right at all, because normally you sneak out, you bring the bench back in, you close your window, but Skylar's window was wide open, the bench was still out there, so that means that she did not return from when she snuck out. Mary just kept telling him, don't worry, I'm going to call Wendy's, because she had a shift at 4 p.m. She said, I'm going to call Wendy's a little bit after 4, let her clock in, and I'm sure she's going to be there because she never misses a shift at Wendy's, so she has to be at work. But right before she could call Wendy's, Wendy's actually called her. They were wondering where Skylar was. She didn't call out. She never misses a shift. She has a shift today at 4 and she is not here. So they were wondering where Skylar was. Now this is when both parents actually started to freak out because she was not at work, and like I said, she never misses a shift. So Dave proceeds to call Sheila. Sheila just tells them that she hasn't spoken to Skylar since the midnight before, and she has no idea where Skylar could be. Now Dave and Mary proceed to call 911 and report Skylar missing.
I have a daughter that's 16 years old. Apparently she snuck out of her room last night and she hasn't been seen since. None of her friends can get a hold of her. I can't find her.
What's her name?
Skylar Neese.
A few minutes later, after they dialed 911, Sheila actually called Mary and told her, I have to tell you exactly what happened last night. She tells Mary that they all decided to sneak out at 11 p.m. and they were just driving around smoking weed. And at midnight, she dropped Skylar back off at home, but Skylar told her if she could drop her off at the end of the street because she didn't want the car to wake up her parents. Sheila said after dropping off Skylar, she has not heard from her since. Skylar was actually hesitant to sneak out that night because the friendship was so rocky, so she was debating if she should go or not. But then she thought, you know what, it's summer, I'm finally being invited to something. So she just got up and decided to sneak out that night, unfortunately. After talking to Sheila, Skylar's parents were extremely terrified. But luckily, there were new surveillance cameras installed in the apartment complex. So they went ahead and checked the cameras. That's when they see something strange because according to Sheila, she dropped Skylar back off around midnight. But in the footage, it shows Skylar actually leaving her home a little bit after midnight and going into a gray sedan. The video is actually very pixelated, so they can't see who's in the car, how many people are in the car. They can't even see the license plate. So it's really grainy and doesn't really help them. They just see that it's a gray car. Since Sheila and Rachel are Skylar's best friends, they thought that what Sheila said was true and that she was just dropped off at the end of the street, and that Skylar ended up sneaking out a little bit later with someone and that someone just took her off somewhere. Sheila then goes to the niece's house and she's crying her ass off. She is so confused. She's like, where is Skylar? Why did she leave without telling anyone? And she is just doing the most. At this point, she honestly deserves an Oscar. That's how good her performance was. She is knocking on people's door asking for Skylar. She's putting out flyers. So she is really trying to find out where Skylar is, supposedly. Sheila would actually go to Skylar's bedroom a lot and would just sit in her bed and start uncontrollably sobbing. Skylar's mom would just sit there and comfort her, telling her it's going to be okay. She's going to come back home. So she was there comforting Sheila all the time. Sheila just seems really worried and distressed. Meanwhile, she knows exactly what happened to Skylar. Now, Rachel handled things differently. She was very quiet and she made sure to stay far from everything. She would just talk to the nieces through the phone. She wouldn't go to their house or anything like that. The day Skylar went missing, she actually spent the day at a lake with her family. And a week later, she had the audacity to attend church camp. So it seemed like she wasn't really affected by anything. She didn't want to fake anything, just like how Sheila did. At the beginning, the police thought it could have been a runaway case, but her parents thought it was very unlikely. Like, Skylar loved her life, and on top of that, she left her toothbrush, she left her contact solution, she left her phone charger. So if she was running away, she would take all these stuff, that like essential stuff, like, you know, you would take your charger, you would take everything you need. And she actually had, I believe, a blanket, her safety blanket, that she would not go anywhere without. So if she was sleeping over someone's house, she would take that with her. So It was like a safety blanket, I believe, that she had since she was a little girl. As days start passing and weeks start passing, people want answers and they start making up rumors. Especially teenagers, they want answers right away and they start making rumors. So one of the rumors was that Skylar actually attended a party and that she ended up ODing and they just hid her body somewhere. Another one was that she was abducted by an online predator and that she robbed a bank. So there were a lot of rumors going on about what happened to Skylar. People just wanted answers at this point, so they just came out with random stuff. But the investigators were really on top of Sheila and Rachel because they were the last people to see Skylar, so they thought that they must know something. So they were interviewed a lot, and when the girls were interviewed, they both said the same story all the time, word for word, kind of like it was rehearsed, and the investigators thought it was really fishy. They said that Sheila was very calm and collected, that she would stare at them in the eye, like she was confident in what she was saying all the time. Meanwhile, Rachel, she was the complete opposite. She wouldn't stare at them in the eye. She was very fidgety, playing with a pen, shaking her leg. So they were both really different when it came to these interviews. Rachel's vibe just made the investigators seem like something was off, like they were hiding something and they are just not wanting to tell the investigators what happened. Skylar's parents were actually really pissed off that they were on top of Rachel and Sheila. Dave actually spoke to them and he told them to leave them alone, that they're her best friends. He said that they're devastated and to just leave them alone and to go find answers somewhere else, to stop wasting time on them and just find their daughter, and that's it. So he was really pissed off that they were being interviewed so much, and sadly, he stood up for them. They were Skylar's best friends, especially Sheila. They've known her since the 2nd grade, since she was 8 years old. Dave loved both of them, and he considered both of them to be their daughters.
I even told him I loved them, and we did. We loved that girl like a daughter, especially the first one. She didn't even knock on our door when she came over. She was like our kid.
As time goes on, the cops are really trying to find something. They haven't found anything yet, so they're going places, trying to look at surveillance cameras, trying to find something that would give them some type of answer. So the cops are going to different places before they stopped at a convenience store. They pulled out the security footage, and that's when they see that it shows Sheila's car, which is a gray sedan, and that is the same exact car they saw in the surveillance camera from the apartment complex. They couldn't really get any information back then because, like I mentioned, the footage was very pixelated and grainy, so all they could see was that it was a gray sedan. But now in this footage, they could actually see that it was all 3 girls inside that car. And not only did it show that all 3 girls were together, but the timing was really off in what Sheila and Rachel told the investigators because they said at around 11 p.m. But the footage shows them being there at around 12:30. So now this is where investigators start becoming really suspicious and they started to investigate even more and they got their cell phone records. Now when they got their cell phone records, it shows that Rachel's phone pinged in Blacksville. And Blacksville is actually the complete opposite of where Rachel and Sheila told investigators they went. Now investigators are like, Sheila and Rachel have to know something. There's no way they don't know anything and they're just trying to hide it. Maybe the rumors are true. Now they're really trying to find out where Skylar is and what happened to her. And they told this information to the girls. They said that it's a mistake. They were never in Blacksville. It has to be an error. They insisted that they were nowhere near Blacksville. Now that they have this new information, police are really cracking down on the girls and they are really pressuring them to come out and tell them what happened to Skylar. Now with all the pressure going on, this is when Rachel actually has a complete breakdown. Rachel had a breakdown before where her mom called 911 and Rachel is just frantically screaming in the background.
I have an issue with a 16-year-old daughter of mine. I can't control her anymore. She's shooting nuts, she's screaming, she's running through the neighborhood. Give me the phone. Like, no, this is over. This is over. My husband's trying to contain her. Please hurry.
Rachel now has another breakdown and this is where she ends up in a psych ward. Investigators get a phone call and that call is from somebody representing Rachel and they tell the investigators, please meet us here at Rachel's lawyer's office because Rachel has something to tell you. Investigators go to the lawyer's office and Rachel is just sitting there and the investigators are like, what happened to Skylar? Tell us what happened. Are the rumors true? Did she get kidnapped? That's when Rachel responds telling them we sapped her and she starts telling them everything that happened that night. According to Rachel, she and Sheila have been planning this for months. When the night came, Rachel took a shovel from her home. Sheila took 2 knives, paper towels, bleach, and a change of clothes. Then they proceeded to go to Skylar's house in Sheila's car. Skylar thought they were just going to drive around and smoke just like a normal night. Rachel and Sheila were both wearing hoodies, and under their hoodies they were concealing a knife. They drove to Blacksville, where they stopped at a secluded place, which was a normal spot they would stop at to smoke. Came out of the car, walked to their normal smoking spot, and that's when Sheila and Rachel said that they forgot the lighter, and they asked Skylar if she can go back to the car and get the lighter. With her back turned to the car, that's when the girls counted to 3, and on 3 they began stabbing her repeatedly. For a second she managed to get away, but then the girls stabbed her in the knee so that she wouldn't be able to escape. According to Rachel, she stopped stabbing, but Sheila just kept on going. She kept stabbing Skylar until she stopped making gurgling sounds, and that resulted in a total of over 50 stabs. After, they just sat there watching Skylar bleed out, and they were just sitting there waiting for Skylar to die. And before she died, poor Skylar's last word was just, why? The girls then proceeded to try to bury Skylar, but the ground was way too hard, so they just ended up leaving her body there in the woods and just covered her with dirt, branches, and rocks. After that, they just changed her clothes, got rid of the other ones, and just went home. Investigators, after hearing this, they were in complete shock. This is something that they were not expecting at all. They were expecting Rachel and Sheila to know something about the rumors maybe being true, about somebody else kidnapping her, something along those lines, but not that they actually killed Skylar. So they were completely shook, but investigators decided that they were going to work with Rachel to try to get to Sheila. They decided that Rachel was not going to get arrested immediately. Rachel then told them where Skylar's body was, and on that day, January 10th, she went with investigators to show where Sheila and her left Skylar's body. Now, it was snowing really heavily the past few days, so they arrived there and Rachel completely forgets where they put Skylar's body just because there's so much snow, so she doesn't know exactly where that place was where they left her body. So they decided that they were going to come back when the snow melts off, and that's when Rachel would show them where they put Skylar's body. It wasn't until March 13 that Skylar's body was confirmed, and when the news broke that Skylar's remains were found, Sheila actually posted pictures of her and Skylar together on Twitter, saying to rest easy and that she will always be her best friend. All this bullcrap. She tweeted it was the worst day of her life. Even Rachel actually made a tweet saying rest easy best friends, like we will miss you. All this crap, like if she just didn't like tell officers what she just did to Skylar. So at this point, no one knows that Rachel confessed. Sheila doesn't know, the parents don't know. They're just really trying to get to Sheila before they tell anybody. Investigators are trying to do everything they can to get Sheila. They even put a mic on Rachel. They told Rachel to have a conversation and try to get Sheila to admit to something. But Rachel got scared and she didn't even end up talking about Skylar. So that did not work at all. So after they were done using Rachel, trying to get to Sheila, they ended up arresting Rachel. And that was part of their deal, that Rachel had to turn herself in after everything was done. She turned herself in on May 1st, 2013 and pled guilty to second-degree murder. She was going to be charged with first-degree murder, but after taking police to Skylar's body, she cut a plea deal. Sheila still tried to maintain her innocence for a while, and police were just trying to get DNA samples from Sheila in order to connect her to Skylar's murder. And once investigators finally obtained a search warrant and searched Sheila's car and the trunk, they found Skylar's DNA. That was enough to finally arrest Sheila. She was actually at Crackle Barrel with her mom, having the time of her life, enjoying her life, thinking that she got away with shit, but she didn't. Police were just waiting for her to finish her dinner and come outside to finally arrest her. And when Sheila came out, police approached her and finally arrested her. Sheila acted so confused and upset, like still putting on that innocent act, like if she didn't do anything. They finally arrested her and she was charged with first-degree murder. So both girls were charged as adults, thankfully. Sheila actually took a plea deal which gave her life in prison and eligible for parole in 15 years. And Rachel received a second-degree murder and got 30 years in prison and parole in only 10 years. When the girls were asked why they killed Skylar, you guys, I don't think you'll be able to fathom this. What they responded, they said, we just did not like her anymore. Like, what kind of shit is that? People have assumed that the reason that they killed Skylar was because Sheila and Rachel didn't want to be her friend anymore, and Skylar knew a lot of secrets about them. So the girls didn't want Skylar to expose them and tell them their secrets. What those secrets are is not confirmed, but one thing that Skylar did witness was Rachel and Sheila hooking up. She wrote in her diary that one night they were having a sleepover in Rachel's house and they were drinking and they just started hooking up in the bathroom. Skylar wrote in her diary how she was there locked in the bathroom with them when they just started being intimate together. And 2 weeks after that incident, Skylar made a tweet saying, "I tell the whole school all the shit I have on everyone," which is a lot. So that is something that people are saying, that Rachel didn't want that being out there, that they have a relationship together, especially with Rachel's parents being Catholic. Maybe if her parents found out, Rachel would be taken away and they can't be together anymore. So that is something that people say that is a reasoning behind all of this. Now, during the trial, Sheila never apologized. She said that she has nothing to say. She does not know what to say. So she said absolutely nothing. And Rachel actually ended up apologizing to the family.
I don't know if there's a proper way to make this apology, because there are not even words to describe the guilt and remorse that I feel each day for what I've done. The person that did that was not the real me, not the person I am, not what I'm made of, and not what I believe in. I don't think I ever thought that this would actually happen. I became scared and caught up in something that I did not want to do. I never realized the gravity of my actions and how many people I've hurt. I hurt the Neese family and those who love Skylar. I hurt my parents and shamed my family. I hurt my extended family and all of my friends who loved me. I hurt my teachers and those who believed in me. I hurt my church family, my community, and those who trusted me. And I hurt my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. May God bring eternal peace to Skylar and the entire Neese family. Again, I'm so sorry, and I pray each day for everyone involved, and I pray each day for forgiveness.
Think about her apologizing.
At least on my time.
Her lawyer told her to do it.
Yeah. I think the lawyer wrote it and she just read it.
Yeah, and it's not heartfelt. She's not sorry what she did, or she wouldn't have done it.
To this day, they are both incarcerated in the Lakin Correctional Center in West Virginia. And Rachel is actually married to a woman now. Supposedly, they met in prison, they fell in love, and they got married. It's so crazy because in the recent mugshots, they're both smiling and they have their hair done. Like, they have no remorse at all. Every time I look at it, I literally just get scared and disgusted. Supposedly, when you behave good in jail, you can do your hair and you can work. And they give you certain privileges. But man, these mugshots, like, they literally give me nightmares. On a positive note, Dave and Mary have helped pass Skylar's Law, which requires the state to issue an Amber Alert for all missing children, even if they are not suspected to be kidnapped. They have also made the place where Skylar's body was found into a memorial. It has some nice flowers, a bench. It is just a nice place to spend some time with Skylar. To this day, Dave said that he will do anything in his power to keep those girls in jail. The fact that these girls have parole is honestly mind-boggling. Like, I understand that Rachel helped the cops with a lot. Honestly, if it wasn't for Rachel admitting it, we're not sure that they would have gotten caught. So I will give Rachel that, but still, 30 years in prison and Pearl in 10 years is nowhere near what she deserves to be getting. Especially with their sad-ass excuse that they did it because they didn't like her. They should honestly just rot in jail. No parole, no anything. Let me know what you guys think about the theory of them being together and that's the reason that they killed Skylar. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment box. That is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you like these types of videos, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye guys.